In Tonga City, the crowd stood stunned as a shocking announcement was posted in broad daylight. It was written that the senior princess of the Likinga dynasty would marry him because of Shawan's merit, and the wedding is set for tomorrow. People started talking about how the two war gods of the Qing family died after going too deep into the desert, leaving Qingyu, Tonga's finest warrior and the dynasty's ruler, disabled. The man at the pillar was shocked the princess would marry that fast, but a woman nearby said any girl would be lucky to marry Jiao. Everyone whispered that Prince Jiao and Miss Li were so admired for their personal visit to Qingyu, the Qing family's courtyard. Qingyu, broken and weak, lay still in his bed. Jiaoan and Miss Li, standing nearby with nasty grins, mocked the fact that he had been the pride of Tonga since he was a child. By age 3 he grasped the true nature of perfection, started mastering it at 9, achieved it fully at 13, and was almost ready to step into spirituality by 18. As he spoke, Jiaoan lunged forward and clamped his hands around Qingyu's neck, claiming he was as useless as a dog with torn muscles and veins while his spirit faded away, yet still leaning close to declare himself a great hero for saving Qingyu alone. Then he laughed out loud, saying the words that he would now marry his bride. Qingyu stood beside Linga with a grin, feeling the imperial blood calling her to conquer the world, and Linga explained that the Qing family's great fortune was simply because her father gave her to her. Then she shouted that the Qing family were just dogs of the imperial dynasty, and only someone with truly outstanding qualities could win her. She shouted that one little trick killed 2 brothers, crippled the 3rd, and made her destined for greatness. After those words, Likinga hugged Jiaoan and declared that heaven itself had made them a couple because she is so beautiful and talented while being a descendant of an immortal clan. Jiaoan whispered that Likinga was truly wonderful and said he would love her with everything he had. Then they shared a laugh and walked away. Suddenly, Qingyu burst with raw power. A glowing mark appeared on his forehead, and a voice in his mind asked if he wanted to keep living. After that, the entity poured energy into Qingyu's body and asked to see what she was capable of. Qingyu snapped his eyes open and jumped straight to his feet. Staring at his hands, he couldn't figure out how he got back or what had happened. Qingyu remembered his grandfather and father, wishing he had woken sooner to save them from dying. After shouting that vile monsters had destroyed his family by killing his loved ones, Qingyu suddenly snapped awake. After thinking it over, Qingyu stood up and sprinted straight to Jiaoan and Likinga to have a quick chat before the big wedding day. When Jiaoan saw Qingyu, he laughed in anger, punched him, and then dragged the servants to take Qingyu into the desert, hoping he would never survive. "Everything will be fine," the girl said to lift Qingyu's spirits, and then handed him a drink of water. It was Linga's sister, Liang Yao, who emerged from him after saving Qingyu from the desert. After a decade of training, Qingyu finally earned his right to inherit the desert lands, though he never guessed what would happen next. During his training, Likinga killed his sister, so when Li Qingha picked him up, Qingyu screamed in grief and rushed straight to the imperial palace to seek revenge. When Qingyu arrived, he saw that Li Qingha and Shaoan were already gone, so he had no choice but to start his path of cultivation all over again. Once Qingyu took his spot as the supreme devil, he turned his hungry eyes back toward Likinga and Jiaoan to start his hunt once more. Back then, Likinga had already taken the throne of the whole land while Xiaoan led the immortal clan. They joined hands with the leaders of every nation in the world just to kill Qingyu. After that, they jumped into a deadly fight, but since Qingyu was outnumbered, he took heavy wounds and found himself surrounded. Jiaoan told Qingyu there was no escape from his fate, but Qingyu filled his heart with strength and promised that if he died, he would take them all with him. The shocking news left Li Qingha and Zhang Dan stunned. An explosion wiped out everyone on the battlefield, and Qingyu, remembering his past life, swore to take revenge on Xiaoan and Li Qingha. In the end, a happy accident in the desert lands gave him the Book of Nature, which held 108 fierce beasts and 72 divine ones. Qingyu unrolled the scroll and found out he could wake up a beast, so he called forth the ghost of Yazi. The ferocious Yazi possessed a body so incredibly strong that his bones were tougher than anyone else's. Thanks to Yazi's help, Qingyu will finally reach the first level of the spiritual realm. Qingyu recalled the faces of Li Qingha and Shaoan, promising that they would soon feel the power of his rage. Suddenly, the door swung open and a man stumbled in, shocked to find Qingyu awake. Qingyu gritted his teeth the moment he saw Qing Shuang, the elder of the Qing family and like a brother to his own dad. He secretly joined forces with Li Qingha to send Qingyu and his family away to the desert, only to then turn into a dog named Jiaoan and brutally kill Qingyu's whole family. When Qingyu appeared, Qing Shuang was overjoyed to see his veins torn and himself reduced to nothing, so he burst into laughter. He felt happy that the unmatched genius Qingyu ended up on the altar like nothing more than trash. Hearing this, Qingyu called the head of the dog, who believed that simply changing the owner made the place no longer empty, and that even if he fell on the altar, Qing Shuang could not break it. As soon as Qing Shuang heard those insulting words, he gave an order to shut his mouth. He did everything he could for the Qing family but got nothing back, so he had to betray them and declared that from now on, the Qing family belongs to Qingguang. Hearing this, Qing Yu stood up in a blaze of anger and marched toward Qing Shuang, who insisted that everything that had happened was Qing Yu's fault. Furious, Qing Shuang declared that he would send Qing Yu to the underworld and asked him to tell Qing that he had taken his life. Right after he spoke, a fist slammed into his face, knocking him down so hard he broke the floor with his body. Gripping Qingguang by the throat, Qing Yu declared that a biting dog deserves only one fate before claiming the life of his victim. After putting on his clothes, Qing Yu hurried to the exit, the very heart of the Divine Sword Dynasty. The guards standing at the capital's gates are whispering about a rumor that their princess is going to marry a man from the clan of Immortals. Then one of the guards admitted that people from the clan of Immortals are terrible and no one dares to anger them. When the elite guard overheard them talking about the princess's husband, he sharply ordered them to be quiet and reminded them to get back to work. The maids tiptoed into the princess's room, bowed low, and asked if she might be bothered. Lena put on her wedding dress, and that let them walk right in. As the maids stepped into the room, they told her the ceremony was almost here and it was time for her to head to the palace. As soon as the hour arrived, Linga rushed straight to the palace. The trumpeters blow their loud horns to shout that the prince and princess have finally arrived. The prince and princess climbed the steps toward the great hall. The messenger told the emperor they had arrived, then stepped forward to bow before Liking Ha, the ruler of the Divine Sword Dynasty. The emperor declared that he would give his daughter, Xiaowen, to King Li Ha and asked him to treat her kindly. Zhadian bowed to the emperor, grabbed Li Qing's hands and promised loyalty, but a spear suddenly flew through the door, killed several guards, and the furious emperor demanded an explanation from the intruder. Suddenly, Liking Ha and Xiaowen were terrified when they spotted Qing Yu. Qing Yu gazed at the emperor in awe, celebrating how Yazi's power had surged to make his skills far greater now that he had reached the first level of the spiritual realm. He worried that if he called upon a wild beast now, he would become too dangerous, especially after noticing how quickly Qing Yu's powers had returned. After that, the shocked Liking Ha couldn't make sense of what happened because his veins had been ripped apart, turning him into nothing. Qing Yu climbed the stairs while Xiaowan, filled with fear, wondered what was really going on. Seeing Xiaowan's fear, the emperor judged that despite his immortal lineage, the boy was hopeless, so after laughing and rubbing his mustache, he dismissed Qing Yu to rest at home. Qing Yu instantly thrust his spear forward, pressing the sharp tip against the emperor's forehead and demanding he stop lying, warning that without his father's past rescue, the emperor would have been dead long ago. He told the emperor that his Qing family was willing to do anything for him and that their good deeds were truly huge. After saying that, he turned to the emperor and asked what had become of his family, since Xiaowen and Li Qing had plotted a crime together, and once the guests learned the fate of the Qing clan, they immediately started talking about what they had heard. Zan stepped forward to silence Qing Yu, unleashed a blast of purple energy that opened a glowing third eye on his forehead, and then admitted he had underestimated Qing Yu's fake injuries, yet remained certain he could still defeat him despite his cultivation level. Qing Yu challenged him to a strength test, then swung his spear to the side and sent golden energy flying. The guards rushed to shield the emperor, who was certain Xiaowan would triumph because, despite having equal power, immortal blood runs through him. The emperor reached out and told Xiaowan not to hit Qing Yu too hard, since the Qing family had done so much for the imperial house. As a form of punishment, Xiaowan summoned the green flame, the Xiaowan family's divine weapon, to begin the battle and weaken Qing Yu's cultivation. The crowd cheered for Xiaowan while hugging their sorrow for Qing Yu. He ran his hand along the blade and told Qing Yu exactly what kind of sword he was holding. Qing Yu replied that he was holding the Qing family's war god spear, a 6-stage earthly weapon soaked in tens of thousands of human souls and the severed heads of thousands of people. Hearing this, Xiaowan yelled in rage that it was only a mortal blade. Then he swung his sword high above his head. Qing Yu, who bears an animal mark on his forehead, timed his strike perfectly by calling forth the ghost of Yazi and the spear of the war god, then commanded them instantly to destroy the target. As Jao drew near, the spear bent in a sudden arc to strike him from behind, catching him completely off guard. Xiaowan flew into a rage at Qing Yu's bold underestimation and slammed his sword across the incoming spear to block it. Xiaowan stared in disbelief as his divine sword cracked and shattered under the ordinary blow of an earth warrior, who then slammed him into the ground so hard he coughed up blood. Everyone, from the common folk to the emperor and Liana, stood frozen in shock at what they just witnessed. Leah wouldn't believe what was happening, so she told Xiaowan to get up and fight Qing Yu. Qing Yu turned to Xiaowan and asked if the descendant of the immortal clan was truly that weak. Xiaowan clutched the spear with both hands and pulled hard to get it free. Then Qingyu pushed harder, demanding to know how such a proud son-in-law could look so weak and frail before him. Zhaoan admitted he didn't realize the Qing family's weapon wasn't just an ordinary tool but a divine one, since it shattered his own sword. After cleaning the blood from his spear, Qingyu told Zhaoan that the god of war's weapon is far stronger than a fragile divine sword, because the Qing family has been washing it in blood for centuries. After hearing those words, Qingyu thought that Yazi's true strength comes from merging it with weapons, which are split into two kinds, earthly and divine, and right now his spear already wields the power of at least a second-tier earthly weapon. The emperor stared in shock, realizing the Qing family actually possessed a divine weapon. He doubted this because he was watching every move they made, and he figured Qingyu had gotten that spear out in the desert, so he'd keep his eyes on him to find out where he was hiding it. After thinking it over, the emperor told Ziodan he was wrong to give his daughter to Qingyu, since he couldn't even defeat him. Xiaoan tried to speak to the emperor but gave up. Then he gritted his teeth and let out a scream that made his eyes glow red while the mark on his forehead finally opened. Xiaoan poured out every last drop of his power, admitted he'd been wrong, declared himself a descendant of immortals, leaped onto Qingyu, and sneered that he was just an ordinary person. The moment Xiaoan stepped closer, a punch hit him right in the face and sent him flying backward. Qingyu yelled at Xiaoan for the noise, then stomped down on him with all his might and vowed to make him pay for everything. Qingyu lifted his spear high above Xiaoan and, with a battle cry, was ready to drive it straight down. Kinga begged her father to save her husband. As the spear flew straight for him, Xiaoan pleaded for rescue just as a flash of light appeared. When the enemy charged, Qingyu leaped up to block the blow, but the guard struck his spear so hard that he was flung into the air. Seeing just how hard the attacker hit, the guard used that force to scoop Xiaoan up and move him to a safer spot. When the guard stood up to his full height, he saw that Qingyu was talented, yet he still dared to cause chaos in the imperial city. Qingyu recalled the guard, Booty Liqing's personal protector who had nearly shattered through to the second spiritual realm. While Liinga was caring for her husband, she commanded her guard to kill Qingyu. Afterward, the emperor declared that Qingyu had broken the law, acted with arrogance, and hurt many in the imperial family, so he should be punished. But because Qingyu comes from a noble line, Baihui must instead break his arms and legs. Hearing those words, Booty's eyes went wide with crazy laughter as he took the order and leaped straight at Qingyu, howling with insane joy. Qingyu couldn't believe how fast he was, only to get hit and sent flying right after. He wasn't going to let the victim walk away. The broken guard kept pushing the victim, demanding he stand up. Qingyu called upon the dragon Yazi's power to push back the guard's attack and leave him shocked, while Booty, seeing Yatha's shadow, trembled and asked what it was. Qingyu grabbed Booty's hands, leaped into the air, and told Baihui to stop before kicking him with the strength of Yazi, sending the confused guard flying as if he'd just lost a dream. Qingyu grabbed his spear and declared that Luing Ha was his next target. Hearing this, the emperor flew into a rage and snapped at Qingyu that he had forgotten just how mighty the imperial family was. Right after that, Qingyu found herself surrounded by the royal guards. When Qingyu saw the guards, he wondered if the imperial family really had no other power left. After this, he told the emperor he didn't understand the power he held, then flashed past the guards and seized the emperor by the throat. King Ha and the guards froze in terror the moment they saw it. Kinga begged the emperor to save him, warning that Qingyu was surrounded by guards from the second level of the spiritual realm. But Qingyu just smiled, told the emperor not to worry, and then glanced around with the feeling that everything looked exactly as it had in a past life. The guards wear heavy armor that deals massive damage but makes them move very slowly. Qingyu squeezed the emperor's throat so hard that all that came out was a weak, terrified squeak. The emperor begged for his life, but Qingyu refused to let him walk away. Suddenly, a beam of light tore through the sky and pressed down on Qingyu with amazing force. The man who stepped out of the flash told Qingyu to forgive, but Qingyu was shocked by the man's overwhelming power and remembered that he wasn't this strong in his past life. A winged angel in white robes with 3 eyes on his forehead stood there. The newcomer stepped forward to introduce himself as the leader of the Immortal Clan. Zhaoan told Qingyu that the Immortal Clan and the Imperial family share the same roots, so he asked Qingyu to let the emperor live. As soon as the newcomer arrived, Zhaoan told him to kill Qingyu and called out that the man was his uncle. The emperor laughed at Qingyu, convinced he had the situation under control and that Qingyu couldn't kill him today. Standing in the doorway, Qingyu realized he could no longer kill Zhao Huan. Xiao Huan told Qingyu that since they had always cared for others, they were willing to forgive him even for whatever he did today. After that, he turned to Zhaoan, scolded him for his shameful deed, and warned that upon his return, he would face punishment according to the family's rules. After telling Zhaoan off, Zhao Han blamed the emperor and said he'd confessed to Qingyu, which the emperor finally accepted. After speaking with everyone, Jiao Han opened his third eye and commanded Qingyu to let the emperor go. Qingyu plummeted into a trap, frozen in place by a powerful aura, and instantly knew she had just faced the terrifying strength of the ninth spiritual realm. Now that he understood what was going on, Qingyu unleashed his power, told the celestial that suppression wouldn't work, and then tightened his grip on the emperor's neck even more. Qingyu was so strong that he could hold back his power even while standing at the very first level of the spiritual realm. Now free from his bonds, Qingyu declared that since the immortal had ordered his release, he had no choice but to act, and with a swift flick of his hand, he robbed the emperor of his breath, leaving only a final cry of death in his wake. Lai Kinga couldn't believe her father was dead, while everyone else stared in shock at Qingyu as she killed the emperor, and the guards instantly charged toward her. Xiao Huan was so shocked by what he saw that he thought Qingyu must have found something in the desert. After taking the emperor's life, Qingyu snatched him by his robes and hurled him up toward the heavens, where the celestial effortlessly spread his wings to catch him. Qingyu tried to run and say goodbye to the immortal leader, but an invisible hand grabbed him and made him kneel down instantly. Xiaoan stopped Qingyu, scolding him for his overconfidence after he fled the celestial realm at the peak of his power right after killing the emperor. Qingyu felt the heavy pressure and knew the power suppressing him was 10 times stronger than before. Then he called upon Yazi's power and rose to his feet. Qingyu pushed himself up from the ground, lifted his spear, and shot a burst of energy waves at Liking Ha and Zhaoan. The sky smashed the waves in half, treating them like nothing more than children's toys. Then he saw Qingyu running away. Qingyu leaped down the stairs and said goodbye once more. Zhaoan flapped his wings wide and told Qingyu that she had no way to escape. After that, Qingyu warned that if the celestial chased him, Zhaoan would suffer terrible wounds, and offered him the chance to choose what mattered most. So the bleeding Xiaoan begged his uncle to save him, only to hear his uncle smirk and call Qingyu a funny boy. Then he told Qingyu that this time he would let him go. After missing Qingyu, Xiao Huan healed Zhaoan and assured him that his wounds were no longer life-threatening. Zhao Dan warned his uncle that he couldn't find peace as long as Qingyu lived, and Zhao Han promised to take revenge for the trouble they caused that day. Zhao Han looked back, thought of Emperor Li Jianhe, and laughed, calling him a nobody. Lena listened in stunned silence as the celestial told her to stand by her husband after her father's passing, and she agreed with tears streaming down her face. Zhaoan shot up into the sky and told everyone that their emperor had passed away, leaving the empire under the immortal clan's temporary control, so he ordered everyone to hunt down and capture Qingyu. One guard asked the princess for advice, and she only showed her annoyance by gritting her teeth before saying they all obeyed the immortal, which made him happy to see them submit so easily. Qingyu fled the empire, fearing that the Divine Sword Empire would only bring him endless trouble since they would never stop hunting him for killing their emperor. After that, Qingyu wondered why Zhaoan was here since he wasn't in that spot in his past life, but once he realized it didn't matter, he chose to let Zhaoan and Li Qingha survive a bit longer before he leaped off the cliff. After the emperor was killed, the whole Divine Sword Empire shouted out a decree to punish Qingyu, saying that because he was from the Qing family, he had lost his honor and done a terrible evil. He stood before the crowd, took Emperor Li Jianhe's life, and then vanished into the night. The city will give a piece of its land as a reward to whoever manages to carry out the crime. Qingyu and his fellow travelers were squeezed inside a stagecoach that roared through the forest at breakneck speed, watched over by a giant eagle. Qingyu sat so still that his traveling companion watched him with growing suspicion, while inside Qingyu's head raced with the urgent need to flee this land and reach the great Tanhe Empire before the Divine Sword Empire's decree caught up to him. He guessed the Divine Sword Empire had several hundred cities, but it still felt like just a tiny country. But in the vast Tanhe Empire, thousands of cities and countless mighty clans call it home. Next to the mighty Tanhe Empire, the Divine Sword Empire felt as tiny as a single grain of sand. After that, he made a promise to himself that he would come back soon and crush Zhaoan and Liking Ha into dust. Seeing the gloomy passenger look so strange and messy, fellow traveler Qingyu asked her grandfather why he'd let such a bad person onto their cart. Hearing this, the grandfather turned to his granddaughter Yuhua and explained that even though the man looked sloppy, his body was in top shape, making him a perfect companion to keep them safe on the dangerous journey to the Tanhe Empire, which made Yuhua excitedly ask who could possibly threaten them with her grandfather, the mighty Jin Nanwan of the Tan Empire, right beside her. Leaving Qingyu shocked upon overhearing their talk and realizing just who the old man next to her truly was. Qingyu recalled tales of Jin Nanwan, a real-life hero who stood guard against evil spirits to protect the empire's borders. But sadly, when the Immortal Clan helped the Divine Sword Empire in a past life, they quickly toppled the Teen Empire and Xiao Dan killed Jin Nanwan. Now Qingyu felt lucky to share the same wagon with Chan Nanwan. Noticing the other traveler staring, Yui Hua quickly asked him why he was looking at her. As Qingyu spun around and shouted that the pursuers were just strangers, Jin Nanwan's anger flared, while the cart kept rolling with unknown enemies hot on its tail. The coachman turned to his boss and told him they still had about 100 miles to go before reaching the Tanhi Empire. Hearing this, Jin Nanwan barked an order to push harder, insisting they reach the empire before a moment was lost. Then he turned to Qingyu and made a gesture, but nothing happened. Hearing this, Qingyu instantly realized Jin Nanwan had spoken on purpose, knowing his position from the start, just as several arrows suddenly struck the horse and made the cart shake. Everyone inside instantly wondered what had gone wrong. Then a massive blade on a chain shot toward the cart, sliced it in half and snapped back to its master. After smashing the cart, she told Jin Nanwan that their orders were to take his head. Jin Nanwan rushed to warn everyone that the Taiyan Empire's deadly assassins were attacking. Hearing that, Qingyu instantly recalled them, the infamous killers who once ruled the Teen Empire. The woman who halted the wagon drove her blade deep into the earth, then demanded that Jin Nanwan bow to his death. After Jin Nanwan rubbed his beard and scoffed at the Death Clan for underestimating him, his mood shifted and he seriously asked if she really thought she could kill him all by herself. When the killer heard the old man's defiance, he chuckled and told him that he was certainly not the only one hunting for his head. Something flew straight up in the sky right above Jin Nanwan. Seeing the trouble coming, Qingyu shouted a warning right away. After that, he grabbed a spear and blocked the arrow glowing with a red aura. Seeing this, Jin Nanwan was caught off guard by the strange things unfolding around her. Qingyu saw the sun god's arrow, snapped it with a burst of power, and kept sliding forward from the force. Qingyu was completely drained after reflecting the arrow back. The girl who shot the arrow was shocked that someone could bounce it back from the sun god, so she leaped from her tree to her partner. When Jin Nanwan heard about the sun's arrow, she was stunned to realize it was one of the Death Clan's 3 deadliest weapons. He understood that the killers were willing to go out of their way to kill him, so he turned around to face them. Jin Nanwan told them he would quietly face his death if they let his granddaughter and everyone else go free. Hearing this, Yuhua rushed to her grandfather to talk him down. Yet the blade-wielding killer agreed to his plan because it made things much easier for her. Suddenly, Qingyu's hand rushed up and covered Jin Nanwan's face. He promised Jin Nanwan that he would save him from death. Then he told the killers he would stand guard over the old man and gave them his name. Realizing who they were up against, the assassins agreed to help Qingyu with his murder. So he asked them to introduce themselves because he didn't want to kill the nameless. The killers stepped forward to meet their prey, revealing themselves as the archer Wu Yui and the woman with the blade, Wookie. The moment they spoke their names, Qingyu's mind instantly flashed back to the Wukong sisters from a past life. After the Teen Empire fell, they headed into the desert and quickly became famous there. But sadly, they lost to Jowan and faced death. So Qingyu decided he must win over these two, just as Wookie, seeing their hesitation, threw her blade at him with all her might, only for Qingyu to dodge by throwing the God of War's spear to deflect the deadly attack. The blast was so powerful that everyone had to shield themselves from the cloud of dust kicked up by the shockwave. As Qingyu grabbed his spear, he realized it felt almost just like the legendary God of War's blade. Suddenly, Wu launched himself at him with a giant blade, smashing the ground beneath Qingyu's feet, and then asked if the weapon he wielded was the war god's spear. Seeing his chance, Wookie drew the bowstring tight, noting that Qingyu had only barely survived a weak shot last time, so this powerful arrow fired at full strength would surely end his life. Qingyu tossed Wookie into the air to dodge her blade, and the surprise of seeing her weapon repelled by someone at the first level of the spiritual realm made her realize she was facing a true genius. She warned that the distance between them was too wide to prepare for another attack. She then unleashed her yellow-level high-class weapon, the Blade of the Scorching Sun, to strike with devastating force. Qingyu instantly called upon the ghost of Yazi to stand in the path of the Soaring Sun's blade. Even though Wookie fought to keep his cool, he saw Qingyu tearing through her enemies without stopping, so he warned her that she was far too strong for him to handle on his own. After that, she broke right through Qingyu's defenses. As Qingyu tossed him aside, he flipped mid-air, planted his feet, and quickly realized that summoning Yazi's ghost wasn't enough to fight Wukong right now. Qingyu stood up and laughed at Wu's weak moves, but she just called his teasing nonsense. Qingyu told Wu that her martial arts weren't fully mastered yet, so she was daring to use powerful black-level techniques, even though she only held yellow-level weapons. Upon hearing this, Wookie launched a furious barrage of attacks at Qingyu, who stubbornly kept his eyes shut tight. After that, he effortlessly slipped out of every attack. Qingyu dodged Wookie's flurry of blows, waited for the perfect split second to thrust his spear at Wookie's neck, but then he froze just before striking, leaving Wookie completely stunned. He repeated that her fighting moves were far from perfect and that this particular trick had many flaws. Wookie screamed, "Bastard," at Qingyu, and demanded he release her sister, who was being held hostage. Qingyu paused to think, then told Wookie she needed to sharpen her skills, but only if one thing was met. When Wookie heard this, she shouted at Qingyu that she didn't need help improving her skills, because if her moves were worse than the enemy's, she'd just have to die. Then Wookie turned to his sister and told her to stop thinking about him and just kill the enemy to finish their mission. Wookie shook with fear as she readied her shot. Qingyu knew the Wu sisters were too close to break, so she could just ignore Wookie. As Yua watched the fight, she suddenly realized Qingyu was truly strong, and her grandfather agreed his bet on the Qing boy was right, even suggesting the desert trip would be very helpful for him. Qingyu gripped the spear and pressed its sharp point right against Wookie's face. Seeing this, Wookie begged him to stop, drop his bow and arrows, and let her go so he could kill only her instead. After weighing everything, Qingyu pulled his spear away from Wookie and called the Death Clan worthless and shameless for going against their own sister's wishes. Then he asked if they truly wanted to stay with them. Holding her hand around her neck, Wookie demanded to know how Qingyu could possibly know about the Death Clan, and he replied that he knew everything, including how their leader had been planning an affair with the sisters for a long time. Shocked by what she heard, Wookie screamed that this just couldn't be true. Qingyu kept talking about how the Death Clan secretly controlled their victims, turning them into puppets that were then tortured and mocked. When he heard this, Wookie shook his head and insisted that their leader only takes the lives of those who truly deserve to die. Qingyu told the sisters to verify everything themselves, secretly hoping that his planted doubts about the clan would soon win them over to his side. Qingyu saw the discouraged sisters and offered them a way out. Leave the clan behind and serve it instead. Wookie was shocked by what she heard, but she just laughed and called it a huge act of generosity. Wookie asked Qingyu if he knew how deadly the Death Clan was and what would happen if they left it, warning that only death would follow, before asking if he could keep them safe. Qingyu slipped the spear away, told everyone to take their time to think things over, and then promised the sisters that if they found the courage to follow through, they could find him waiting at the biggest inn in the Tanhe Empire whenever they were ready. Furious, Wookie told Qingyu that she had a chance to kill him, and now she and her sister would do their best to take his life. As Qingyu left, he urged them to give it a shot. As soon as she heard that, Wookie's fighting spirit vanished. Wookie's sister laughed and said her own sisters owe no one anything, so she would definitely kill him the next time she saw him. After sharing everything with Qingyu, Wookie told Jin Nanwan that once he arrived in the Tan Empire, he could no longer live so freely because the Death Clan would find 100 new ways to hunt him down. Jin Nanwan stood speechless after seeing what he had just witnessed. Yuhua turned red with embarrassment, twisted a strand of hair with her fingers, and tried to thank Qingyu. When he saw the scene, Qingyu leaned over to Yuhua and said, "It's a huge honor that Jin Nanwan's granddaughter personally thanked me." Then he turned to her grandfather and asked if he could take her as his wife. The sudden question made Yuhua so embarrassed that steam practically shot out of her ears. When asked, Jin Nanwan told Qingyu that while he might lead in cultivation, he lacks the courage to face his reputation. Yuhua leaned toward Qingyu, curious about the specific reputation her grandfather meant. Then she realized he was Qingyu, the man who killed the Divine Sword Empire's emperor and was being hunted by everyone. She suddenly realized her grandfather had known it all along, and when she questioned him, he just told her she was thinking too slowly. Jin Nanwan placed a reassuring hand on his granddaughter's shoulder and told her that if Qingyu's brother truly wants this, he is ready to step up and take on the responsibility. When Yuhua heard about the marriage license, he tried to speak up. But Qingyu suddenly coughed and said he was just joking and still needed to think, which made Yuhua fall to the ground. Qingyu urged Jen Nanu to speed things up and put his focus on the matter instead of Yuhua, and the young man readily agreed. When Yuhua realized it was a joke, his face burned with anger, and he just wanted to get back at the guy. Qingyu and his friends were marching toward the grand gates of Teen City. As soon as Jin Nanwan appeared, the crowd bowed to welcome their king and then started talking about him. The men looked up to their ruler while the girls chatted about Princess Yuhua right beside him. A man pushed his way through the thick crowd. Hang Fei moved through the bustling crowd, warmly approached his ruler, bowed deeply, and told him that his father often spoke of him. Jin then chuckled, stroking his beard, and admitted he hadn't seen his own dad in ages either. Huang Fei walked up to Yua, calling her Lu, to say hello, and let her know how much he missed her too. Scared of Huang Fei's pushy attitude, Lu nervously explained that they didn't really know each other well. Hearing this, Huang Fei, confused by Lu's words, explained that everyone around them had been married since childhood and was already considered engaged. Hearing this, Qingyu told Liu that Huang Fei had great talent, only for Liu to shout back that she didn't. When Huang Fei overheard Qingyu's words, he laughed with arrogant pride and told Qingyu he didn't deserve such praise, which made Lu very angry. Angry Lu found a way to get revenge on him, then suddenly hugged Qingyu while blushing and calling him her beloved, which left everyone in shock. Caught in a tricky spot, Qingyu realized just how mean she had become. While Jin Nunwan and his group backed Liu because they thought Yazi would listen better to Liua's words, leaving Hangfei completely shocked and unable to believe it. To seal the deal on her story about Jin Nanwan, Liu claimed that Qingyu was her lover. Those words made the ground beneath Huang Fei's feet crack from his fury. After that, he let out a fierce aura and told Liua not to try to make him laugh. Liu saw Hangfei's anger and calmly reminded him that they'd been together so long that marriage was just around the corner. Hangfei boiled with such rage that he smashed his fan. Yet he told Liu she was probably just tired from the road and even arranged a banquet for her. Afterward, he bowed to the king, saying the feast was for him too, and the king, happy with what he heard, nodded his agreement and stroked his beard. In the quiet, vast city, huge dinosaurs roamed the streets, watched by crowds of people riding on their backs. Liu shared with her grandfather that they hadn't visited this place in such a long time. Qingyu and Huangfe stood on the other side, arms crossed and saying nothing. Huangfe couldn't hold back his feelings, so he turned to Qingyu and warned that even though he didn't know Liu, the girl belonged only to him. Afterward, he told Qingyu to leave Tanhe right away and be out of the city by the next day, or else Qingyu would get skinned alive if he stayed behind. When asked the question, Qingyu grinned and nodded to leave the tie-in, though Hangfei knew he'd have to wait a little longer. First, he plans to wed Liu, have a son and daughter, and only then will he be ready to return and talk about his next move. Huang Fei introduced Qingyu and Liu to a child, seized his heart, and made sure this wouldn't happen again. After that, he threatened Qingyu with death, calling him a rude, insolent man and declaring that Liua would no longer protect him. Qingyu said sorry, admitted he could be both proud and gifted, and begged Hangfei to stick to his promise. When Huangfe let go of Qingyu in a rage, he promised that his time would come. While Qingyu brushed off the dust from where he grabbed her, and felt Liu had already caused her too much trouble. At the entrance of Teen City's blacksmith clan stood their powerful artifacts, including a furnace that burned with intense heat. After Huangfe leaped off the dinosaur, he turned to the king and his daughter to tell them they had finally arrived. After King Jin Nunwan and Liu arrived, Jin Nunwan stroked his beard and admitted that the blacksmith clan was truly famous, even though Liu found the gates covered in so much yellow metal that it just made him sick. Huangfe bowed to the king, thanked him for his praise, explained that his father had crafted all the entrance decorations, and then invited everyone to step inside the living room. Hang guided the guests toward the banquet hall. As he stepped inside, he told everyone that his father couldn't make the banquet due to urgent work, but that today he would welcome the honored guest from King Jin, Nanwan, and asked for just a moment to get dinner ready. From within the blacksmith clan, Qingyu realized just how rich and grand it truly was. Many dishes sat on the table, all made to celebrate the king and his daughter coming home. Hangfe welcomed the guests to the table, then brought out the rare underground dragon meat he had hunted himself to strengthen Liu's body, explaining how hard it was to find such a special treat. When Qingyu snatched the meat, Hangfei was so surprised he tried to push it away. Then Qingyu suddenly shoved back with his hand, shocking Huangfe with raw strength as he dug up the dragon meat. As soon as Qingyu felt his strength surge, he was thrilled and wasted no time clearing the table. Seeing his chance, Huangfe rushed to the king with the news that he had recently awakened the sacred fire of the 5th rank, a miracle from his divine ancestor that left Jin Nunwan and Liu utterly stunned. After hearing that the master had learned Huang Fei wanted to marry Liu, he promised to visit Taiyan himself in a few days to win them over, leaving the king and his daughter feeling sad. Qingyu was shocked that Huang Fei could wake the sacred fire, a rare magical power martial artists strive to master that exists in 9 ranks from the weakest to the strongest. The moment a warrior stirs the sacred fire, he earns the most respected spot on the continent and becomes a master of tempering. Qingyu figured that while Huang Fei was lucky to reach rank 5, that still made him a rare find. Huang Fei's ancestor was such a powerful figure that he not only reached rank 6 but also mastered the peak of the spiritual realm, proving his immense strength within the Teen Empire. To everyone's shock, Huangfe revealed that his mentor had promised to throw a wedding so grand that the world hadn't seen one in a long time, a special event just for him and Liu. Jin Nanwan stayed quiet but knew they were in deep trouble. After dinner and dropping Qingyu off at the grandest inn in the Taiyan Empire, Liu asked why he was leaving when he could just stay in the king's palace. Qingyu spun around to ask if Liu would miss him, only to see her lips purse in a gloomy frown as she suddenly turned away, rubbed her face and told him she was gone. Qingyu quietly encouraged Liu, reassuring her that Huang Fei was no match for them and that Qingyu and Liu were perfect for each other, before he promised not to let Huang Fei capture Liu, and then went into his room to meditate and bring the ghost dragon Yazi inside him. In this way, he toughened up his body. While meditating, he imagined quicker ways to grow stronger by eating rare treasures or the flesh of strange beasts. He promised to find a way to unlock the 2nd level of the spiritual realm tomorrow, so he could tame the 9-legged golden raven beast. After summoning the 9-legged golden raven to wield the sacred rank 9 fire of heaven and earth, Qingyu took one last look at Huang's face before stepping away in his mind. A spy from the blacksmith clan approached Huang Fury, who was all alone on the balcony, and finally learned the secrets he needed. He realized the stranger Liu was with Qingyu and belonged to the Qing family of the Divine Sword Empire. After hearing the report, Huang recalled the rumors about the Qing family and asked the spy if Qingyu was truly linked to an immortal, and the spy confirmed it without hesitation. Huang gritted his teeth and started laughing like a madman, calling his neighbor garbage, but then he decided to let him live because he had once seen Qingyu marry Liu. Qingyu pulled out a scroll, explaining that writing down the move is a boring task and that he'd once owned a thunder palm in a past life, a low-tier item that could still be swapped for plenty of nature jewels. Qingyu rose from his bed, slipped on his cloak, and walked out of the room. As Qingyu walked into the auction house called Tanhe, he felt a wave of joy knowing he was finally back. As soon as he stepped inside the auction house, old memories flooded back to him. When the visitor arrived, the hostess asked Qingyu what he wanted, but Qingyu rudely insisted she call Miss Warner instead, then quickly apologized and dashed away while asking the hostess to wait. After a while, a 3-headed snake slithered up to Qingyu, where the lovely Miss Warner was sitting on its back. The auction house hostess brought Warner to meet Qingyu, but the moment Warner waved hello and said it had been ages since they last met, the hostess was left wondering who he really thought he was. Qingyu boldly stepped forward to join the underground auction, shocking Warner and the attendant, so Miss Warner quickly led him to follow her. Once they arrived in the empty room, the escort ushered Warner and Qingyu inside before locking the door behind them. Qingyu stepped inside and said he'd love to come back here again. Miss Warner lit her pipe and asked Qingyu how he knew her, since they were strangers, but he just said he didn't need to know her and that he already knew the auction rules. Qingyu pulled out the scroll he'd just written and asked Warner what it would cost. When Warner opened the scroll and asked Qingyu what it was, she realized it was a black level technique. Qingyu nodded and confirmed it was a black level technique, treating it like it had no value at all. After that, Miss Warner asked if he really wanted to put it up for auction, because black level techniques cost a lot of money. Warner told Qingyu she could sell the technique for 1 million gold, but when she asked if he trusted him, he mentioned the auction house could pay her 1.5 million instead. Qingyu figured that a tempering pill cost around 10,000 gold, so with his huge pile of 1.5 million, he could buy 150 of them, which was exactly why he quickly agreed to swap his money for the pills. Thrilled by the deal, Warner happily agreed with Qingyu and gave him a big thank you. After lighting his pipe, Warner marveled at the unexpected gift of a black-level technique from such a person, then asked Qingyu if he wanted to join the auction to win the extraordinary jewel he had come for, to which Qingyu happily agreed. Warner stepped up to walk Qingyu down to the dark, secret auction hall. Warner took Qingyu to the auction, where he welcomed him as they stepped into the arena. The crowd was stunned by Warner's rare, sweet smile, which instantly made them curious about the man standing beside her. Qingyu turned to Miss Warner and praised the great view, but she replied that only the most special guests of the auction house were allowed to sit there. Suddenly, a voice called out to Warner, reaching her from far away. He told her he'd come to her because he heard a voice. Warner's eyes snapped open and he jumped up to say hello to Mr. Huang. Huang Xian stepped forward with a bright smile, happily telling Warner he had brought her a great product, while Warner thanked him by covering her face with her hand. Hangin told how her dad kept asking her to get married, which she always refused, until he tried to grab her, causing Warner to laugh and jump out of the way, leaving Huang Xian to miss his shot. Hangin chuckled at how easily he could embarrass Warner, and he had already told his dad that the money from today's winnings would be treated as a ransom to save her. With a lustful grin, he claimed that even her father couldn't refuse him, which finally made Warner lose his courage. As Qingyu looked back at the scene, he knew the divine spear would be sold today, even though it was broken. Huang Xian spotted Qingyu sitting there and boldly slapped his shoulder, telling him that the spot belonged to him and demanding Qingyu roll as far away as he could. When Hangin attacked the guest, Warner jumped up to defend him, telling her that this was her guest and she shouldn't be so rude. Scared by what he just heard, Huang Xian choked back tears and told Warner that this place had always been his. But Qingyu simply replied that it now belonged to him, which made Huang Xian lunge forward to threaten him as worthless trash who had only reached the first spiritual realm. Qingyu, fed up with the noise, slapped Huang Qian in the face, knocking him back several meters so he could try to speak. Qingyu told Hangian that he was so annoyed he'd head to the next world if Hangian said another word. Having hit his breaking point, Hangian gritted his teeth and called Qingyu a freak, then unleashed his energy to warn that no one speaks to him like that, and if anyone wants to die, Huang Xian is more than ready to help. Warner saw what Hangian was doing and told him to stop right away. She told him that no one is allowed to make a scene in her auction house, and that rule applies to everyone. Hearing this, Huang Xian quickly tried to explain by pointing at Qingyu, only for the angry Warner to yell at him to shut up. Huang Xian nodded in fear and sat down, silently vowing to endure Warner's insults while sitting there. But Qing Yu will be done the moment he walks out of the hall. As the man in the back rows watched and told his master about the fight between Qing Yu and the Huang Xianwan family, Huang Fei just smiled while his maids ate grapes, knowing that Qing Yu was looking for trouble. After calling Wang Guan on his tablet, Hang Fei told Hangen about Qing Yu, and he was thrilled to learn the man who insulted him was just a pawn of a dying empire, not a real threat. Warner stepped onto the stage to welcome the guests and promised that the auction would feature amazing treasures far better than anything sold before. Hearing this, the guests cheered for the auction to begin, already hooked on what was to come. Warner waved her hand to bring over the first box, announced it held a second-class survival pill, and then opened it to reveal a glowing pill pulsing with pure energy. Warner explained that no matter if the wound was fatal or severe, anyone who took this pill would heal in an instant, and he set the starting price at 10,000 gold. The hall erupted into chaos as a bald man shouted 15,000, only to be instantly cut off by a horned man next to him shouting 18,000. Qing Yu yawned at the first few lots, decided to sleep until something better showed up, and then he was out like a light. Huang Xian, sitting close by, gruffly told Qing Yu to keep sleeping, because this was his final day. Half an hour later, Warner cheered the man in the front row for winning the jewel, sent the maid to bring the next batch to the stage, and declared to the crowd that it was the very last gem for today's sale. Once the announcement was made, the backstage area opened up and a group of men hauled a huge box out onto the stage. As soon as Qing Yu heard news of the new batch, he jolted awake and wiped the spit from his lips, buzzing with excitement. The spy from the forging clan suddenly caught fire and shouted that he needed that weapon. Warner started bringing in the whole group. She explained that even though the broken divine spear was damaged, it was still a priceless first-class weapon worth 1,000,000 gold. After that, she promised to raise the price once he spotted the item, so the spy from the forging clan instantly shouted out 1.5 million for it. After that, he told everyone around him that this item was vital for his clan and hoped to earn their respect. Warner instantly spotted that the forging and casting clan was trying to drive the product price down again. Just as Qing Yu was ready to make his offer, a woman in a raincoat stepped right up and shouted out 2 million, claiming she desperately needed the item just as badly as he did. Qing Yu saw the cloaked figure and knew right away it was Wookiee. When the price hit 2 million, the forging clan spy screamed in outrage and demanded to know how anyone dared to outbid his clan before ordering her to leave the stage. As soon as Wookiee heard those words, she pulled her hood off, which made the spy fear that the Death Clan wanted to steal the broken divine spear for themselves. He knew he was powerless against the Death Clan and prayed his master would see the danger he faced. Wookiee grinned and claimed the thing as her own. When Qing Yu heard this, he leaped from his chair and bet 3 million gold, sneering at the furious Wookiee, while Hangian stared in shock that such a kid could afford that much. Warner asked if anyone else could outbid Qing Yu, who won the broken divine weapon with no one able to match his offer. So Warner declared it his and blew him a kiss that left him shocked. Then Warner shouted that today they are going to show off another batch of goods. Finally, he unleashed his ultimate move, the thunderous black palm technique. Only when they saw the rare black level technique did the crowd cheer in excitement, and then Warner called out the starting bid of 5 million to begin the auction. The hall instantly erupted into a loud uproar. Everyone with cash jumped in to chase the jackpot. The bald man threw down 6 million, the bearded man raised it to 7, Huang Xian roared like a volcano shouting 10 million, and the blacksmith clan spy finally broke his silence by outbidding Wang Shuan with a daring 12 million. Huang snapped at the spy, demanding an explanation from Hang Xian, who admitted the young master ordered the technique at any cost, apologized to Wang, and then shocked everyone by doubling his own bet with 15 million. Hearing this, Huang Xian burst into a rage and told Huang Fei that he would no longer help him take revenge on Qing Yu. Wookiee laughed at the small $15 million bet, then raised her hand and threw in an enormous $18 million instead. But then Qing Yu suddenly covered her mouth, begged her not to make the bet, and promised to explain why right later. Furious at Qing Yu's actions, Wookiee told him she wouldn't listen and declared she was ready to bet 20 million. She dropped her hand, nodded along with Qing Yu, but her mind was spinning, wondering why she should care about him now that no one else had offered a higher price, and Warner declared the technique belonged to the blacksmith clan spy. Hearing that, the spy laughed, thrilled at the thought of securing a top-tier technique for his master. After Qing Yu urged Wookiee not to forget his words, he invited her to visit him at the biggest guest house in Tanhei before walking away. A moment later, Warner stepped into Qing Yu's room and admitted he'd arrived too late. He answered that he had arrived the moment it was possible, and then Warner thanked Qing Yu. Qing Yu told her that she was an amazing person because she managed to sell the equipment at such a low price without tricking anyone. After that, he asked if he needed to pay her back for it. Warner leaned in close to Qingyu and whispered that he could still help her out. Hearing those words, Qingyu felt a question bubbling up in her chest. He gripped her waist, tilted her chin up, and then asked the shy Warner if she could help him out. Warner was about to ask Qingyu what she wanted to do, but in a sudden burst of passion, she leaned in and almost kissed him. Suddenly, Qingyu held out his hand, promising he wasn't just teasing and asking her to hand over his stuff. Warner pulled out the ring, coughed, and told Qingyu it was just a warehouse ring the auction house had given her with her lot. Qingyu slipped on the ring and thought it was pretty good since it was a medium yellow storage ring. After that, he remembered something and asked Warner if Hangyin would ever invite her to dig up the ancient ruins. He promised to come along, waved a quick goodbye, and walked away, leaving Warner wondering exactly which ruins he meant. Qingyu lazily wandered the streets of Grand Tiana Avenue, dreaming that his past life had already made him a familiar face in Warner before he ever returned from the ancient ruins. Then she had to marry Huang Xian because he was part of a plot against her. But sadly, once they were wed, his true evil nature turned her life into a living hell. Even though Qingyu couldn't save Warner from a terrible end in his previous life, he now vows to give her a future as bright as heaven. Late at night, Qingyu sat in his room quietly meditating while the pills floated around him. He figured that ordinary warriors at the first level of the spiritual realm could only handle one tempering pill. Talented folks can only swallow 3 pills at once, but elite warriors who have reached their peak can chug a whole bottle and 10 pills in a single breath. But Qingyu, who holds the power of Yazi, is unmatched in strength and can swallow 150 pills in a single go. As Qingyu swallowed the pills, he saw a shadowy 9-legged golden raven and instantly drank up its power, then let out a scream that tore his clothes to pieces. Qingyu was exhausted from swallowing 150 pills, but suddenly a 9-legged golden raven symbol lit up on his forehead. Peering at his hands, he was sure that those 150 tempering pills were exactly what he needed to break into the second spiritual realm. Qingyu took a spark from the 9-legged golden crow, greeted its warmth, then pulled out his broken spear and the war god's spear from his ring to fuse them together with the healing fire. The sky burst into light as a brand new divine weapon was forged. As Qingyu gazed at the god of war's upgraded spear, he snatched it up, dreaming of turning his own weapon into a divine masterpiece. He grinned and admitted that he was almost reaching the 5th level of the spiritual realm, where the very air hummed with power. The crowd carrying the palanquin froze in their tracks as a blinding flash of light tore across the sky above Tanhe, glowing brightly through the fabric of their canopy. The old man sitting inside pulled back the curtains while he thought about the flash. The flash made him realize a first-stage divine weapon had appeared in Tianhe, and if it was real, he immediately started planning how to steal it, laughing with excitement at the profit he would make. The Death Clan was a lavish sight, adorned with burning skulls that had glowing eyes looking like they were alive. WBU and Wookiee bowed low to honor their master. Hazahin, the leader of the Death Clan, scolded the Wu sisters for their wrongdoings. King Ji-nan was left puzzled about how to handle them since they failed to kill him and missed their chance at the auction. Wookiee placed her hand on her heart and asked the head to punish them by making him laugh, then lifted her chin with his finger. Wazin pointed out that he had raised them from childhood and asked how he could punish them for such a thing. After saying those words, he told the sisters they had a new task and hoped they wouldn't mess it up this time. Weru and Wookiee quickly said yes to the job, but their faces showed they weren't happy about it. Learning that his servants were ready, he told them that Qingyu from the Qing family of the Divine Sword Empire had ruined all their plans by killing Emperor Liana, which forced him to flee to the Tanhe Empire and led the Immortal Clan to issue a decree to capture him, so he entrusted this mission to the Wu sisters. Hearing this, the sisters quickly bowed and raced toward their goal, but the moment they were gone, he flared with anger, calling them nothing and claiming he had raised them in vain for failing such simple tasks, so much so that he grabbed his face and vowed to find new pets if they failed again. The next morning, Leah stood before Qingyu's inning, waiting in the cool early dawn. After yawning as he left the inn, Qingyu asked her what she wanted from him so early. Liana walked up to Qingyu and said that from now on he must live in the palace since this inn isn't fit for him. Hearing this, Qingyu asked if she missed her fiancé, and Li Zhanhe tried to explain that she had to go to the palace to gather divine weapons and deal with Huangf and Hangin, adding that while they weren't scary on their own, together they could scare Qingyu. Qingyu patted Lana's head to ask if she was scared for him, promising that as long as she was there, none of those guys would ever dare to climb him. Li Jianha's face turned cute and fierce as he shouted that the Death Clan had snatched the Divine Sword Empire's mission and sent killers after him. Qingyu placed a hand on Lana's shoulder, calmly asking why she worried about him when he wasn't afraid, and gently urged her to show him Tiana. Li Jianha cried out in desperation, admitting she couldn't even think of the right words to make him believe her. As Qingyu and Liha strolled along Tanha, they shared sweets, cheered for the circus acts, and simply loved every step of their walk. As Leah walked across the bridge, she spotted a familiar face. She instantly spotted Warner from the auction house, who looked much more handsome than the last time they met. Qingyu told Li Jianhe to look in the mirror, a sharp remark that left her face flushed with red. As they drew near Warner, Qingyu and Li Jian welcomed her with a greeting that she happily returned. Li Jianhe spotted her friend, beamed with joy at their long separation, and asked why she seemed so distant while reminding her that she could still call her Yuka. Warner laughed at the news, but she still called her Yuka. Warner asked if Qingyu was being a bother to Liana by coming to their place. He quipped, how could he be worried about meeting such a beauty? And then gently asked her why she really came. Warner told Li that since she was here, Qingyu must be extra careful around the Death Clan, but Li just waved it off as nothing. Knowing Qingyu wasn't scared of the Death Clan's assassins, Ner quietly got ready to leave so he wouldn't get in their way. Suddenly, Li Jin hugged her, offering to walk with them and show them Tanha, since Leah had been there so long that he remembered nothing of it himself. Qingyu agreed to Liana's idea, then gave both Liana and Warner a tight hug that made them blush and laugh while saying they definitely need to go together. That warm hug made Warner start thinking about Qingyu even more. Then they went for a stroll. At Tani Oriental Market, as Liana and Warner walked through the city holding hands with a man, the crowd started talking about what they were seeing. They started to wonder who this brave man was who dared to hug such beautiful women. After that, some folks recalled seeing him recently celebrated with honors in Tianhe. Listening to all that talk, Qingyu just sighed at just how famous they are. Warner told Qingyu not to worry about the crowd, but Li Jianhe could see he was already panicking. Just as Qingyu heard the sharp crack of a whip, he instantly darted toward the busy crowd. The slave trader punished the woman for trying to run away by whipping her. His slave could only let out a quiet moan and hold back her tears. The slave trader told them he didn't ransom her just to let her run, warning that if she tried to escape again, he would kill her. Warner spotted the slave trader right away, named him Fy Li, and shouted that he was torturing the captive once more. Watching that scene, Liana's heart burned with fire, and she vowed that one day she would break the empire's chain of slavery forever. Warner said Flea is a proud bully who gets to do whatever he wants because he's connected to the Huang family of the blacksmith clan, and then he bragged that every month or so, he publicly shames his slaves. While the heavy man Li slammed the slave down again, he demanded why she wanted to run away from him since he feeds her and sings for her, just as she deserves for being so ungrateful. The slave girl was pulling herself together and getting ready to stand up again. When File Li demanded an answer from her, she turned to the fat man, crying, and said that if he kills her, she will come back from the other world to punish him for killing her and her whole family. Hearing the slave snarl, Philly kicked her and demanded to know why he was just garbage like her, having torn her family apart, and he threatened to kill her unless her pretty face saved her, shouting that he paid 2 million silver for her and now owned her in the sky. After saying that, the fat man slammed his foot down hard and yanked the slave by the chain around his neck. When Jioreu was mentioned, Qingyu instantly turned to the girls and asked if they really called the slave that, and Warner simply nodded yes. Qingyu smirked at the answer, saying he didn't expect to see it here. She noticed Qingyu's smug grin and realized Li Yu was about to do something really bad. Qingyu stepped toward the fat man and said he had to save this slave. Philly remembered the terrible things people had faced before, let go of the chain, and began to choke from exhaustion. He then turned to the crowd and shouted for them to scatter, asking if they had ever seen a disobedient slave beaten. After saying those words, Ji Royu stared sadly at File Li, and that look made him wonder why he was scared by the face of a poor, suffering slave. He then flicked his whip and prepared to hit him again. Out of nowhere, Qingyu snatched File Li's hand. Fodi was shocked by what he saw and yelled at the stranger for meddling in his business. Qingyu offered to buy the girl if she named her price, but the fat man refused to sell her and ordered Qingyu to leave, only for Qingyu to remind Filii that since the slave was sold against her will, he would rescue her by force, which made the fat man laugh. Philly demanded the brat leave again after asking if he knew who he was, and upon hearing the refusal, Qingyu realized he had no other choice. Li, the big fat arrogant man, wanted to tell Qingyu that he was too scared to do anything. Just then, Qingyu smashed into the fat man's face, sending him crashing back 10 meters. The crowd stared in shock at the kid who dared to hit File Li, knowing the blacksmith clan would make him pay for it. Only Jiru stared at Qingyu with wide eyes, completely amazed. Philly stood up from the ground, still just as angry as he had ever been. Fod Li called out to a ghost boar, promising to kill Qingyu, and unleashed a powerful yellow-level attack that crashed into an energy wall, blasting him flying into the streets next door while Bauerhuff Qingyu stood calmly as Philly soared toward him. After sending the fat man flying, Qingyu guessed the name of his move and joked that it fit a pig like him perfectly. Qingyu moved close to the slave girl, stroking her head to claim her as his own before using his fire to shatter her chains, earning his own admiration, while nearby, Warner and Lu whispered that this boy was truly strange and that Huang Firi would be furious if he ever found out. Qingyu gently lifted the sleeping Jiru in her arms. When the girls left after spotting Princess Yuhua and Warner, everyone started wondering who this mysterious stranger was, and then the man in green claimed Fat Li had insulted a big man, prompting the basket-carrying man to say the blacksmith clan wouldn't let it slide. As Lu strolled down the street and asked Qingyu what he planned for the girl, Warner suggested she could stay at the auction house if he couldn't find her a home. Qingyu smirked and said he'd handle everything himself. He finally knew she was the one he'd been searching for, the same powerful ancient demon spirit that flowed through her very blood. Lu frowned at her own mistake and told him she didn't think he liked it. Qingyu turned to Lu and confessed she didn't get it, claiming the little girl was meant for greatness, which made Lu think Qingyu was just trying to fool everyone. Qingyu knew that Jiroyu would soon grow into a demon lord who could command thousands of evil spirits and plunge humanity into a dark future just a few decades away. Then he understood that the years of slavery had carved such deep scars on her heart that she hated everyone around her. Suddenly, he realized she wasn't allowed to walk around in those rags. Warner promised to head to Yahello, the biggest trade union. Soon after, Yahello, Qingyu and the girls stepped into the union's lands, where a merchant instantly welcomed them. Warner told him they wanted to buy a dress for Jiroyu. After hearing Warner's request, the merchant asked Qingyu to follow him. The girls, left all by themselves, decided to go for a walk while they waited for Qingyu. Hang Fei walked through the Yahello trade union, thrilled by the colorful eagle feather dress that was on its way. Suddenly, he spotted Liu and rushed over to say hi, only to find out she had already found him. Liu was surprised by the sudden meeting and asked Huang Fei what he was doing there. So Huang Fei wrinkled his nose and explained that he'd heard high-quality clothes were coming soon, meaning he wanted to check them out and maybe buy one of the 9-colored eagle feather dresses for Liu. That dress was so pricey and rare that you could only find one like it in all of Tianhaina. After Hang Fei offered to take Liu along, she quickly said no, just as a strange noise from the floor above caught his attention. Soon, everyone nearby was pointing and shouting for others to look. Qingyu walked down the stairs with Ji and Zhou, telling her how beautiful she looked in that dress. When Huang Fei spotted the girl, he couldn't hold back and immediately shouted that she was beautiful. Li was shocked to see how beautiful Ji Zhou looked after she changed her clothes. Then she sharply asked Qingyu why they were rushing, and he replied that it was only because they had bought just one item. Huang Fei suddenly realized it, shouted that it was the dress he wanted, and yelled at Qingyu that he was the first to find it. Qingyu asked Huangf if he thought the dress was his because he was the first one to spot it. Hangf shyly nodded in agreement. Qingyu asked Huang Fei if he liked the dress, but Huang Fei demanded it from her, promising to pay any price to get his hands on it. Qingyu nodded his agreement to Huang Firi, but only if Huang would hand over his whole clan of forgers and throwers in exchange. Lu and Hang held back their laughter as they watched Qingyu try to make Huang Fei angry. Qingyu gently stroked Jiroyu's head, told Huang Firi not to scare the child, then whispered that he was truly bullying him and demanded to know what he planned to do about it. Hearing this, Huang Firi flew into a rage, unleashed his 5th-rank flames, and shouted at Qingyu for going too far. Just as the fight was about to get serious, a man ran into the hall yelling for Huang Fei. He made Huang Fei angry and shouted insults at the new arrival. Then Philly started asking Huang Fei for help. Philly began by explaining how he'd been beaten and his slave girl stolen, then reminded them that since he was their servant, hurting him was an insult to his master. Huang Fei needed to press Philly for more answers. But then Qingyu suddenly placed his hand on Hang's shoulder and revealed that he was the one who beat up Fei. When Fei spotted Qingyu, he instantly cursed at him and rushed to tell his master that Qingyu had beaten him up and then stolen the slave girl. Hearing this, Huang Fei flew into a rage over Qingyu's move, shouting that he still remembered their first meeting and how he never wanted to humiliate you back then. But Qingyu decided to humiliate him once more, and then Huangf apologized to Lu for what he was about to do. He had his heart set on taking Qingyu's life. Lu quickly told Huang Fei that he couldn't just disrespect the royal court without good reason. Then Huangf asked if she truly wanted to leave the palace for Qingyu, and she said yes, declaring that he was her fiancé. Huang Fei's anger surged like a flood, yet he held back just enough to keep his cool. He thought all was well because his mentor would return soon and the palace could not save Qingyu from him. After swallowing his feelings, Huangf said his goodbyes to Liu and was ready to go. Philly warned Huang Firi that he'd lose face if he walked out like this. So Huang Fei vented his rage by punching Philly and telling him to leave, resulting in Philly getting stamped onto the wall. Lu tried to warn Qingyu that Hangf's ancient ancestor was coming and that he couldn't fight him, but Qingyu cut her off, insisting everything was under control and he could handle it. Qingyu said he'd buy anything they wanted, making the girls jump for joy, until he suddenly claimed Li Yu was paying instead, leaving them frozen in shock. After saying goodbye to Qing Yu and Ji Ruoyu, Tian, Huang nodded and said it was time to go. Lu told Qing Yu not to hurt Ji Ruoyu. After hearing that from Lu, Qing Yu asked if he looked like a bad seed and then patted Ji Ruoyu's head. Lu hummed a loud tune and made up his mind to walk away. While Qing Yu packed up his things in the room, Ji Ruoyu just sat on the bed. Zhou awkwardly asked Qing Yu why he ransomed her, but Qing Yu simply replied that she was alive, told her to stop asking unnecessary questions, and reminded her that there are still many good people among humans. After unpacking, Qing Yu wished Ji Ruoyu good night, told him he'd sleep in the next room, and then left, shutting the door behind him. The blacksmith clan watched as Huang stood shamefaced before his father, cursing his own fate. Hang Ting, the head of the forging and smithing clan, told Huang Fei to calm down and look in the mirror, because getting mad at a stray dog was truly a shame. Hang bowed to his father and shared the lessons he had learned from him. Huang Ting told his son to wait a little longer, since his mentor was coming in 3 days before he could head to Tianhai. And when the time came, Lu would fall into our hands, but the real prize was the sacred fire competition waiting to begin. Huang lifted his chin, swearing to his father that he would win for sure. When Huang Ting heard his son was ready to compete, he laughed and promised that with his mentor's help, they would win first place and surpass the Tianhai dynasty. Guangfei happily agreed, but while Qing Yu slept soundly at night, assassins crept in and placed their blades on him, prompting him to ask why they were not acting. Then, the killer grabbed the blade with both hands and got ready to strike. Qing Yu suddenly jumped out of bed and stretched. He asked the assassins if they were okay with wearing their veils at night, and after they took them off, Wukia checked on Qing Yu, who laughed that he couldn't sleep with 2 unreal beauties standing right next to him. Wukia pressed her blade against Qing Yu's throat and explained that he must now understand why they had come. When she heard this, Qing Yu told her to quit the fake show and declared that they were never assassins. Wukia asked Qing Yu how he found out about the Death Clan, took the blade from his throat, and pointed out that they were already sharp enough to figure things out just by looking. The assassins stayed quiet, and Qing Yu just told them it wasn't their business where he got his secrets, or how he found them, only that the Death Clan was clearly a very bad place to be. Qing Yu suddenly grew serious and told them it wasn't too late to find the right path. Wukia explained that it was easier said than done because she and her sister had worn the Death Clan seals for so long that they couldn't leave until they were gone, and while they hadn't tried to remove them themselves, they knew a holy fire of level 6 or higher could do it for them. Qing Yu sat up from bed and called for Wukia to step right up to her. The killers grew suspicious and demanded to know what he wanted from them. Then he reached out, grabbed Wukia's hand, and yanked her right toward him. Wukia turned bright red with surprise and asked what Qing Yu wanted to do, only for him to reply that he could break the Death Clan seal on her by placing 2 burning fingers against her skin. Wukia gasped as the golden 9-legged crow touched her, then stabbed into her, making the seal on her forehead vanish and causing her to crumble to the ground. The strange power known as the Ian energy faded away, and she breathed a sigh of relief. Wukia was shocked to find out that Qing Yu was secretly hiding a powerful rank 6 holy fire. He answered that she had no idea how tough he really was. He called forth a blazing holy fire and declared that he truly held the power of a rank 9 holy flame. Wu and Wukia stood frozen in shock. Once the flame was gone, Qing Yu told Wu Yu that it was now his turn. A moment later, the seal came off and she was left feeling a bit puzzled. Qing Yu explained that,